Happy Pride Month, everyone, and welcome back for our third and final, no, I can't believe it's over, but it's our third and final Inside the PARENS chat presented by Healthline. Today, we'll address some of the systemic issues the global LGBTQIA plus community is facing in the fight against pandemics. In our last chats, we discussed how global emergencies such as AIDS and COVID flourish in communities where poverty, stigma, and discrimination based on gender and race thrive. But these issues also drive the disproportionate impact of pandemics on the LGBTQIA plus community, especially people who identify as gay and transgender. Buckle up because I'm about to give you some stats. I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want to help you understand. Okay. For example, gay men are 26 times more likely and transgender people are 13 times more likely than any other population to contract the virus. And gay and bisexual men represent 69% of newly diagnosed HIV cases in just the US, with Black gay men and transgender women bearing the greatest burden of those new infections. COVID is worsening its impact as social, economic, and other health factors continue to put the global and U.S. LGBTQIA plus communities at greater risk of exposure. Yowza. So there's a lot we have to deal with. So we're going to work it out a little bit today. I'm joined by a dynamic, brilliant, incredibly thoughtful, intelligent, talented group of LGBTQIA plus activists and experts to dig a bit deeper into the cause and effect of some of these injustices. Please join me in welcoming my fellow educator and actor, Javier Muñoz. Hey, boo.
Hi, it's so good to see you.
So good to see you too. Senior research scientist for the Trevor Project, Dr. Myeshia Price, and founder of Health Plus4 Men in red supported country, Eswatini. Did I do a good job on that,
Lulu? Hello.
That's maybe not.
Maziya.
Maziya. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Real country, y'all. I'm trying my best. Anyway, you guys are so amazing, incredible. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's jump right in. I think the best way to kick this thing off is for each of you to just sort of give us like a 90-second sort of like amuse-bouche on who you are and how you got involved in this fight. I'll start with you, Javier.
Okay, my name is Javier Muñoz. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I'm still here in New York City right now. And I am an actor and activist, primarily theater, best known for co-creating and originating the role of Alexander Hamilton in Hamilton the Musical. And I tested positive in 2002. And about 3 years later in 2005, I started living openly with my status, and that became my primary foundation of my platform. And ever since, I have been an activist in this arena, and I've been a Red ambassador and a Reducator for the last 5-6 years, along with Phoebe here.
Yay, amazing. Let's turn over to you, Dr. Price.
Hi, I'm Myeshia Price. I'm a senior research scientist at the Trevor Project. I come from an academic background, so I have a PhD in developmental psychology, and I started off doing sexual health research and have a general understanding of sexuality and sexual health through the period of adolescence. And I'm from California, born and raised, and I am also, the reason I'm here at the Trevor Project is because in academia, a lot of the research that is done is often kept insular. And so it's usually just read by other people who are also doing research. And so one of the things I wanted to do, one of the passions I've always had, is to make sure the research that I'm doing reaches people outside of academia who can most benefit from it. Because I think most people go into research to sort of change the world and not just have other researchers reading it. And so, yeah, that's what brought me to the Trevor Project and why I'm here and doing the work that I'm doing.
Awesome. And all the way from Eswatini. Was that better, Lulu? Come on. I'm trying so hard. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Sibusiso Lulu Maziya. Maziya. So I think you get that, the surname, the Maziya part. Actually, I'm the executive director from Plus4 Men. I grew up in Swaziland, which is a very small country in the Southern Africa, just next to South Africa and Mozambique. As a young person in Swaziland, I grew up in an environment that was not enabling a LGBTI community to live their life freely. So as a country, we find it very difficult to live under this circumstance. So I then took the initiative as a young person whom was always fighting for rights and especially the LGBTI community rights in this country. And since 2019, I've been an activist in the country, and then that's when I started Plus4 Men as an organization that works, that deals with health issues, especially targeting LGBTIQ community as well as key populations in this country. We provide direct services, health services to the community, and also including PSS services as well. Thank you.
Amazing. So let's dive in with a group question. What are some of the biggest concerns and challenges you guys have witnessed when it comes to the impact of COVID on the LGBTQIA plus community? Anyone can start.
I'll jump in. Okay. So one of the first things I noticed, in the arenas that I work in the with the organizations that I work with, is that the smaller community centers, the smaller local clinics are really the lifeline for so many communities and small towns in our country and all over the world. And being able to support them so that they could support those small communities and continue outreach during these last 14, 15 months, it's been a surprising challenge. And I worried so much, at the start of this and throughout this pandemic about making sure, that one young LGBTQ plus person who's possibly at home, in a not so safe situation, has somewhere to be or has someone to talk to. That the resources surrounding people who need a daily or weekly medical health care, how are we getting to those people in these really small areas? So for me, I think I was really concerned about making sure our local community centers and health clinics were getting support from us.
Nice. Lulu?
Oh, okay. No, thank you very much on that. In our country, Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, it's a country where over 70% of the population are living under the poverty line. Poverty line of living. So we find it very difficult actually when it comes to the LGBTI community. They lose their jobs, especially this time of the pandemic. Most companies close down, and for them actually it became a challenge because most of them have been retrenched. They have no jobs, and in our offices we experience a lot of them coming for psychosocial support, coming for some of them, they're coming to look for jobs and all that. So they see the organization as a shoulder to cry on, a shoulder to to assist them in the situation they are facing daily. Most of them don't have jobs, so even the stigma and discrimination is escalating during this pandemic period. So it's becoming very tough in Eswatini. As we know that Eswatini is a country that is ruled by a king, and the king is has all powers on him, is above the law, and is a Christian country. When it comes to issues of LGBTI, they are not given even an ear. Even in parliament, we are not given an ear to voice our concerns and or whatever issues we have. So when you talk about LGBTI community in Swaziland, it's like they'll tell you those people are demonic. Those people are, you know, they've adopted the European American lifestyle. So in our country, when it comes to our lives, it's really tough. Some of them are homeless. They've been they've been sent out of their own homes, family homes especially. So it's very tough. So they're living in friends' places. So you find that most of them, they are vulnerable to HIV as well, and also they are also vulnerable to other criminal circumstances, but they have nowhere to go. So that's the situation in Eswatini. We also lack access to land. In our culture, in order for you to have land, you must have a wife if you are a man. If you are a woman, you must have a husband. But it's worse even with women because they are not allowed to have a land. For a woman to get land, he needs to get it through a husband. So in our case, it becomes so difficult with our situation being the LGBTI, being a member of the LGBTI community, because they expect a lot from us, and we are not free actually to have land when it comes to the LGBTI community. So during the pandemic also, we are facing a lot of members of the LGBTI, members of the LGBTI are being displaced back to their homes, back to their rural homes, where it is very dangerous because the rural structure of our country doesn't accommodate it doesn't accommodate LGBT community. So it becomes so difficult actually. There are so many challenges. We are prone to we are also prone to desperate. We are so desperate to survive, to survival measures. Some of us, they tend to get into sex work, scams, and all that just to survive, just to survive. So it is difficult actually in Swaziland. The situation is difficult. So when it comes to the socially, as a country. In Swaziland, when it comes to harassment and also stigma and discrimination, it's just normal for someone just to be stigmatized, just to be harassed publicly. And you cannot report that I've been harassed. They will ask you, why are you harassed? At the end, the issue will be your sexuality more than the offense that you've come for in that police station or wherever you are. So we are facing that. And also we are also facing exclusion from there is a relief fund that was designed for the general population, I would say. But if you are a member of the LGBTI community, we are excluded in that because of our sexuality. They will tell you, no, 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 it's for you with your demons, with your you don't qualify to be part of this. They were also experiencing a lot
I
of
just want to
hatred, stigma,
just want to
and
jump in,
discrimination.
Lulu. I just want to jump
Yeah.
in just super quick, just so we can turn it over to Dr. Price, so she can like tell everyone
Oh,
about herself and how she came into the
okay.
role that she's in. Just super quick. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that in terms of the impact of COVID that we're seeing at the Trevor Project is increasing numbers of LGBTQ young people are reaching out to our crisis services, experiencing some of what Javier spoke to and Lulu is speaking to in terms of losing that support system and affirming spaces that youth through oftentimes physical distancing has meant hiding who they are and in those unsupportive, even oftentimes abusive households in order to maintain their safety. So some of the examples from our 2021 national survey on LGBTQ youth mental health that we just did, we saw that only 1 in 3 young people found their home to be LGBTQ affirming. And so when you're experiencing COVID and they're saying, stay at home, home is safe, safer than being out, for a lot of young people, that hasn't actually been the case for them. And so that's something that we're seeing. Even when we look at the numbers, 70% of LGBTQ youth stated that their mental health was poor for most or always during COVID-19. So we are seeing a lot of what I think the anecdotal discussions are about. We're seeing that come out in the numbers in our research as well.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I want to jump over to Javier for a second. So you actually had the opportunity to meet Lulu and witness the work of Health Plus for Men Eswatini firsthand. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Oh my God, I'm happy to. That was Lulu, meeting you and that entire group of men and the work you were doing was life-changing for me, because it really, I witnessed human beings doing everything they could, not just to survive, but to thrive, and fighting the systems that exist there that you were just describing in the most humane, beautiful, supportive ways. The day I spent with you all, I remember we had to meet under this cover of trees, which was a neighbor's or a sort of ally's backyard, and that the health tents came up, and it's a traveling health system that travels with this group of men who are gathering to meet to support each other and stay healthy and get tested and get what they need. And it's through the love and the kindness and compassion of neighbors who are allies. And literally that's more than survival. That's someone saying, I want to thrive in my life, live in my skin, have dignity, have pride, have respect. And that's a human right. And so I really was so moved by that. It just reignited my fire to keep fighting in this arena, because we enjoy so much here in this country that I think gets taken for granted. And in that energy, we have to really keep giving back and doing more to make sure that globally we are all protected, we are all equal, we are all safe, we have access to healthcare. That was the great impact of meeting you, Lulu, and that trip out that I got to take with Red. It was amazing.
That's amazing. Before we move on from you, I just want to brag on you a little bit, Javier, because in 2018, Mayor de Blasio officially declared June 21st as your day. Can you, first of how did you react when you got that information? Were you just like, what? Were you like screaming?
It's pretty nuts. I got an email that basically said, for Pride that summer, they will, the mayor's office wanted to honor me and the work that I've been doing. And I mean, it was that it was already beautiful. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. Like in my hometown, and my mayor wants to, invite me in to celebrate this work. Yes, thank you so much. And I'm there, and it's beautiful, and I meet everybody, and my parents are there. My partner at the time was there, and we're backstage, and I'm waiting to be introduced, and I had no idea what this event actually meant. This woman next to me is holding a proclamation, a framed proclamation that at the bottom declares June 21st, Javier Muñoz Day in New York City. And I see that right before I'm about to go on to give my speech. So I didn't even know that this was happening. And I had to like internal scream of excitement because I'm about to go give this speech. It was absolutely mind blowing. My parents were over the moon. My friends had no idea. And, it's I don't know, it's indescribable. It really is indescribable. And I'm trying to use that day every year to focus on this work and the organizations I work with, and try to bring more attention to HIV/AIDS, more attention to LGBTQIA, more attention to people of color within the LGBTQIA community. And I think we're 3-4 years in, and so that's my day.
That's amazing. Yay. I want to open it back up to the group. So you're all members of the LGBTQIA community. How has COVID reshaped you personally and professionally? Anyone can.
I'm going to let one of you speak first. Yeah, I've been speaking a lot. One of you can go first.
Come on, Myeshia, what you got?
Yeah, I can start. I can definitely start that off. Professionally, I've been working from home for over a year now. Trevor Project went remote, did a massive sort of tech move, transformation to move the Lifeline call center that we do fully remote for the first time ever. And this was to obviously keep the staff healthy, but also to ensure that the suicide prevention services are available 24/7 for the youth who need them, and at a time when they would need them most. On a personal level, I have been working with a toddler in my house for over a year now, and that's been interesting because my office mate before was someone I could, talk about adult things to, and now my office mate is someone I have to check in, like, hey, have you gone potty lately? You need to go to the bathroom. So it sort of changed what my day-to-day looks like, and just sort of trying to, like, right now I'm just like looking at a monitor and he's not in bed and I don't know where he is. So I'm hoping he doesn't come through this door right now. So yeah, that's been how COVID has personally impacted me. But yeah, Trevor moved very quickly to make sure that the staff were safe and the offices went remote. And so I'm very grateful and actually very privileged to have had that opportunity to have my work not be interrupted in that way.
That's amazing. Lulu?
With me, actually, COVID-19, I would say, it was a learning curve for me when it comes to, actually it came whereby we're not even aware of what is happening in the world, and everything was just upside down. And in our country, working at home, it becomes a disaster because of the connectivity when it comes to internet and all that. It really affected us, but we had to strive and work very hard, making sure that all the services are provided to our clients, everything is happening, and we are working towards helping one another in our situation. So it became so difficult, but then it's a very good experience that we observed and we experienced as a country. But for me, it's like I've learned a lot through COVID-19.
So I feel like this question requires like a week to answer. There's so much to talk about, but, right? But I mean, professionally, I will say that two things really became a prominent focus for me And that was, first of all, just as we were talking earlier, you know, how to reach the younger LGBTQ plus people who rely on their local community centers or whatever resources that are right there for safety, for you know, their safe spaces and the things, the contact communication they need daily. And that not everybody has Wi-Fi, not everybody has access to devices that connect to Wi-Fi. And how do we bridge that? How do we, as everyone involved in this global effort to end HIV and AIDS, or everyone who stands up in the LGBTQ plus community, how do we help each other make sure that we have access and communication and the resources we need? So I started fundraising like a beast during this time for every organization I could, including Red. And, you know, then the flip side of that, or not the flip side, sort of side by side with that, was something that I experienced personally. And I think anyone who lived through the 80s and saw the dawn of AIDS in our world and lost so many friends and loved ones at that time, I personally felt the trigger of watching the death toll numbers of COVID-19 rise and rise and rise. And at some point, I felt very overwhelmed by that, you know, sort of triggering. And I went on to my social media platforms and I put that message out there because I have a lot of followers who are also living with HIV or living with AIDS, or they personally have been affected by HIV and or AIDS somehow. And I just wanted to make sure people knew, like, I was here going through the same thing, and that you know you're not alone if you're feeling this way too. And I found it got a huge response. Forgive me if you hear the lightning and thunder. There's a storm that just rolled in as we're recording. But I felt really passionate about making sure that other folks living with HIV like myself knew that if you were feeling this way, you weren't alone. And so that became a big part of my energy through the pandemic. And I mean, I guess aside from that, I really found it difficult to, so heartbreaking. I missed my friends and my family to celebrate Pride, to celebrate, you know, the moments that we all get to gather normally through the year. So just that human interaction, and just doubling my efforts in terms of LGBTQIA organizations and events, and making sure, you know, hey, do you want me to sing for that event? Totally, I'm there, you know. And just to make sure that joy was being sent out there to people, some sort of connection to lift people's spirits throughout the pandemic.
Yeah. So for the LGBTQ plus community that's watching today, like, what advice would you all give them to help protect them from the impact of pandemics, whether it's COVID or AIDS? That's for everyone. Just one little piece of advice that you think will just really be beneficial.
Okay. For me, I would say we live once. We are human like everyone. No matter who says what, we are whom we are, and we live for ourselves. So let's push for our rights as LGBTI community members. We are God's image.
Wow.
Beautiful,
Lulu.
Yeah, that was beautiful, Lola.
That was stunning. Anyone else have any other advice that's gonna make me cry?
I think
Price?
I'll just jump. Oh yes,
Sorry.
please go for it. Go for it. No.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, you know, I think oftentimes, and I think it was sort of a myth that the branding was called social distancing, right? And not physical distancing, because I think it's important that people know that, you know, the connections that we have with each other is vital for mental health and even suicide prevention, right? And so throughout the pandemic, any pandemics really, it's important to remind everyone, and particularly young people, that to connect with others, right? Surround yourself, if you're feeling too much negativity, surround yourself with people who are going to affirm and validate who you are, and accept you for who you are, and what you're bringing to the table. And I think that's the most important thing, is that there's, even if you find that community online and that space, that connectivity in an online space, and it's not necessarily in person, to just do what you can to connect with others, and not feel as though you're alone, I think, throughout any of that.
Love that.
Yep. I 100% agree with both Dr. Price and Lulu. Everything you both said is exactly in my heart as well. I think the only thing I'm going to add to that is this time really made me slow down and really asked me to re-examine my self-care. And so as obviously there's going to be a ton of LGBTQ plus folks out there watching this, and what this time taught me was gentleness. And so I hope to convey that to you, that whatever state your heart is in, whatever state your mind is in, whatever state your body is in, whatever you've gone through or been going through in this pandemic, in this time, that you be gentle with you, because you're not alone. We're all going through something major in this year, and we're all doing the best we can. And that's more than enough, that you keep showing up for yourself the best you can. We're all in this together, and soon we'll be hugging and sharing space together soon. So hang in there so we can do that.
Yes, I have one last question for everyone, but that was just so uplifting and hopeful. So thank all three of you for saying the amazing things you said. So my last question, how can we build trust and opportunity so that the LGBTQ plus community feels safe to share their experiences and can get access to quality information that will protect their health and rights? And that's for the group as well.
Confidentiality is key. As an organization, it must be our motto as an organization to keep things to ourselves and support one another, and have a heart of love towards our community as well.
I love that.
I think this speaks to cultural competency, really. I think we have to start thinking about ways to get to recruit a mental health workforce that better reflects the young people they're trying to serve. And particularly, we need people who are in mental health care, public policy, public health care, who educators who look and represent the experiences of those who they're serving. And so I think that would help to build that trust, and to have people feel like they can open up to others, and to get the help that they need. And I think in terms of also raising public awareness and educating ourselves and our family members around fostering acceptance, I think those are all a part of what we can do to help members of LGBTQ plus communities feel safe in sharing their experiences.
100%. I love that, because both of these answers are again, I 100% agree with, and I layer on top of that a sense of, well, first of all, more discussions like this. I mean, we're always going to benefit from conversation, from open dialogue, and sharing our thoughts and our ideas together, and making all these things so much easier to talk about, because we talk about it more. But I think there's a great intersection that we've seen in this past 15 months of just humanity, and that old saying of your fight is my fight is your fight. It really is true. And the more we not only stand up for each other, but ourselves simultaneously, the more we're bonded, the more we find what connects us, and the more we can protect and nurture that, and the more spaces we fill together, you know, and lift each other up, and the more dignity and the more respect we have. And so I think it's, I echo everything that's been said and add on to that we can join forces together so much more and accomplish so much more together.
What a perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you, Javier, Lulu, and Dr. Price for joining me today. This has been so enriching. You guys are all brilliant. And to everyone watching at home, remember to head on over to red.org/summer where you can get involved in other cool stuff this summer, donate, or just learn more about their work and ways to fight against pandemics. I'm Phoebe Robinson. Thank you guys so much. Be safe. Be well. Bye.